This is the Vaguely Nerdy Podcast, where every week this brother-sister duo gets together to discuss the box office, latest film and TV scoops, along with our favorite movie or show review, and what we're getting into next. We are your hosts, Cheryl
and Jay.
All right, this episode, it is Jared's turn to ask me trivia about something in the Ridley Scott universe. It doesn't have to be related to Napoleon, which is what we watched this week, but he's got something from it.
We went to see Napoleon this weekend and Cheryl read the trivia immediately out of
I wanted to
the
see
but theater.
How the difference with the historical accuracies or inaccuracies. So yes, you're right. I did kind of kill trivia for this movie. But go ahead.
Okay, so the trivia is going to be Ridley Scott related, but it's not specific to Ridley Scott.
Okay.
So Ridley Scott said in an interview his list of the 5 best sci-fi films ever made.
Okay.
Can you guess what the 5 are?
Can I ask if any of them are his own movies?
2 of them are his own movies.
So Alien has to be one.
Okay, that's one.
Prometheus?
No, these are all older films.
Okay,
none of them are new.
Okay, so Prometheus is pretty new. Older, the original Lost in Space movie?
No.
Planet of the Apes?
No.
Space Odyssey?
Okay, so that's 2.
Oh, okay. All right, I need 3 more.
Yeah.
Older sci-fi movies. E.T.?
No.
Terminator?
No, but you are missing another Ridley Scott one. Think of the biggest sci-fi blockbuster films of all time.
I'm thinking like E.T., not Planet of the Apes.
You're going too deep. Think on the surface. Think
Surface?
surface level blockbuster sci-fi films.
Independence Day is too new.
Yeah.
Okay.
Independence Day is too
Day
recent.
Is too new.
These are sci-fi films that all of these pretty much define the genre.
Oh my God, the pressure.
So the sci-fi films are made and inspired by
trying
these
to think
films.
of something else. James Cameron. I give up.
Okay, so it's 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Okay.
You got that one.
Mm-hmm.
Alien.
Okay.
You got that one. Star Wars.
Dang it. Wow.
I said on the surface. I gave you so many clues.
You're right. I would. You know what? When I think of Star Wars, I think maybe more fantasy, not sci-fi. But
yeah, it's science
okay.
fiction.
Fair enough.
Blade Runner.
That's his.
Yeah.
Okay.
And On the Beach, which I don't know what that movie is called. That movie is about.
Oh, 1959.
Yeah, after World War III, Australia is the only remaining haven for mankind. However, wind currents carrying lingering radiation. It's a post-apocalyptic movie that takes place.
Gregory Peck in it, though.
Yeah.
And Fred Astaire.
Yeah. But those are what he deems are the greatest sci-fi films of all time. I do think it's funny that
Hilarious.
2 of his are in this list.
Yeah, that's why I was like.
But I mean, it's fair.
Is he gonna put his own movies on the list? But I mean, if you don't believe in
Alien and Blade Runner is fair,
right?
So I'll give you that.
Alien, yes, you're right. Both of those for sure. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's jump into our episode.
Okay. Welcome, fellow movie buffs. I'm Jay.
I'm Cheryl.
Listen in as we break down movie and TV shows, tell you what's in the plot, and hear if we think you should have watched it when you had the chance.
Dun dun dun. Okay, so this week is it's funny. So one news topic is like probably one of the biggest news topics going on right now. And then the other one's just kind of shimmied on in throughout the week.
We have no trailers this week.
No trailers. So we'll talk about a reinvention, reboot, rehash, whatever, of a popular classic movie. There's some executive news over at Star Wars. Some news broke around that. More Superman Legacy casting. And then the bigger story, I think, of our news week is Scream 7 debacle. That's what I just called it in our notes. And our movie of the week is Napoleon, which we watched yesterday.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's get into it. First on the agenda, there is a new Karate Kid movie coming. And I will be the first to admit, I've never seen any Karate Kid.
I've seen Karate Kid once, and I never saw it again.
There's at least 3 of them, right?
Yeah, there's a couple Karate Kids, and
Okay.
it's got the reboot with Jaden Smith and Taraji
That was the
Henson,
most
Jackie
recent.
Chan. Mm-hmm.
I missed the whole boat on these, but there's a new Karate Kid movie coming. It is starring Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio, who was
Machio.
Machino cherries. Is that what it is? I don't know. That's a drink. Anyway, the original Karate Kid is coming back. Jackie Chan is going to be the new Mr. Miyagi, who Jackie Chan was...
I guess he's returning as Mr. Miyagi.
Okay, because he was the Miyagi in the one that Jaden Smith was in.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. We don't know much about the plot, I don't think. And they said it's already got a release date. So I thought when I first saw the news, I was like, oh, this isn't like, thought process. People are thinking about it. They just got contract signed. But no, there's a date. This is coming out next December 13th, 2024.
Yeah. So I think this is going to pick up right off the end of Cobra Kai.
Oh, because somebody's related to Cobra Kai in this.
Cobra Kai is ending. Ralph Macchio is the main character in Cobra Kai, where he leads other younger kids into karate.
I didn't get into Cobra Kai either.
And I think I didn't get into Cobra Kai because I just wasn't into the Karate Kid world. It's just not for me.
Okay, silly question coming. Is Cobra Kai and Karate Kid related?
Yeah.
Oh.
There was Karate Kid with Ralph Macchio when he was younger. And then Cobra Kai is about the older Karate Kid. I don't remember his name.
No idea those were related.
Yeah.
Zero.
Yeah.
Oh, you learn something new every day.
So, yeah, he's the grown-up Karate Kid, and he's, teaching other kids.
Oh,
and
everybody
I don't know what the premise...
is probably like, duh, sure.
I don't know what the premise of this new movie is going to be about, but...
Right, because he's already clearly, a expert in his craft. So why would he need Jackie Chan's character back?
I think Mr. Miyagi is still in Japan.
Oh.
So maybe he goes back to Japan. Okay. Maybe there's another tournament.
Question. In Karate Kid movies, is it just the Karate Kid learning to be a better person?
He is trained by Mr. Miyagi to participate in a tournament, in a karate tournament.
Okay.
So that's the premise of the original Karate Kid movie. And then there's sequels and stuff, which I didn't follow because I watched the first movie and it was okay. But, you're a kid. There's only so many types of movies you can watch as a kid, and Karate Kid was one of them.
Oh,
so
I looked this up about the current movie coming out, and it looks like they're still looking for the lead. So they're looking for a kid.
Yeah, I think Ralph Macchio is going to play I think they're going to do the Creed thing.
Oh.
Where instead of Rocky being the boxer, Rocky's now going to be the mentor.
I see.
Okay,
because they said that they're doing an open casting call for whoever is someone to portray a Chinese or mixed race Chinese in the age range of 15 to 17.
So maybe they're trying to course correct and make the protagonist somebody who's actually Asian instead of making it Ralph Macchio. But then I'm questioning what Ralph Macchio needs to be in this movie for other than nostalgia. Because you got Jackie Chan.
Right. And maybe Cobra Kai, bringing over the people from Cobra Kai into that. Very interesting. Okay. We'll see how it shakes out. I haven't seen any other ones. I can't say that I'm super excited about this one. But
I don't know what the interest in this is going to be. If there is, I think it's going to play like the Ghostbusters, the most recent Ghostbusters reboot, where it kind of attracts the original fan base.
Ghostbusters, you're probably going to go because of the nostalgia. If you were on Ghostbusters, you're probably like, no,
I don't need
streaming or not at all.
Yeah, exactly. But Cobra Kai has a big following. But you know what? It's funny because Cobra Kai's following is mostly made up of older people who are familiar with Karate Kid and grew up loving Karate Kid.
Okay.
There's not very many younger people who watch Cobra Kai or even care about Cobra Kai.
I don't hear a lot about it, but I see it has 6 seasons.
Yeah, but fans of Karate Kid are definitely fans of Cobra Kai, so maybe they're hoping that transitions over.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm still mind blown those are connected, and I totally flew over my head. Interesting stuff. So, yeah, as that develops, we'll chat about it, but it is not coming out for a whole year. So, next on our list, Dave Filoni is the new Chief Executive Officer of LucasFilms.
Yay.
If you don't know what LucasFilms is, that's Star Wars.
Yes.
For those who just need a little...
It's the MCU for Star Wars, even though it's been around before MCU, so don't get mad. But,
yeah. Right. And LucasFilms is named after George Lucas. Also, if you didn't get the connection there. But Dave Filoni is a Star Wars veteran, I would say. At this point,
yeah, he was the one who created the Clone Wars animated show that ran for so long.
And he did Rebels.
That's correct.
And he also did Ahsoka.
That is correct.
So
and The Mandalorian.
And The Mandalorian. So he obviously is the right person for the job. He will be overseeing the next generation of Star Wars shows and movies. So he's basically Kevin Feige of Star Wars now.
Yeah, his official title is Chief Creative Officer. And in comparison, that would be the Kevin Feige of the MCU.
So I wonder,
creatively. I think Kevin Feige is more the Kathleen Kennedy of the MCU.
I was going to say, I wonder what the relation is between like Kathleen Kennedy and Dave Filoni versus Kevin Feige and no one else.
I think they gave him this position so that Kathleen Kennedy can still focus on the business aspect, but I don't think she's very good creatively. So they needed to stick somebody who has the ideas that people actually, that the fan base actually likes and are receptive to.
Now, the reception of this, like you just said, reception, that made me think most people seemed excited about this because Ahsoka was well received by, I would say mostly well received by those who watched it. There was a side of the fandom that was pretty nitpicky on it, and it didn't particularly have the highest viewership, but overall it was a good show. Yeah. So this makes sense.
The Clone Wars animated series was definitely one of the high points in Lucasfilm.
And Clone Wars is animated.
Correct.
And Rebels is also animated.
So the animated stuff really attracts a lot of attention. And that's where most of his fan base was built from. His big live action debut was The Mandalorian.
Which was good.
And it really like hit the ground running. So I think this is a really good choice. Although when it was announced and everybody was celebrating that he was announced Chief Creative Officer, I thought it was funny because nobody watches a lot of his stuff. Like the viewership for a lot of, outside of Rebels, which is no longer airing, Clone Wars, which is no longer airing, the viewership for Mandalorian started to fall off a little bit towards the end.
It did.
And the viewership for Ahsoka kind of never really hit.
I think it was middling.
So it just seemed like the amount of people who were happy that he was announced as Chief Creative Officer did not match the amount of people that actually watch his stuff because his viewership is so low, even though his ideas are really great.
I wonder if it's because the show's not movies. You know what I mean? And everybody in streaming is in such a weird space of like, you have to trust the numbers that are coming from the streamers because they don't let insight into how many people are watching. And then there's this whole streaming is actually kind of keeping people from going to the movies conversation and all this and that. I think they were probably thinking more of the people that are watching really like it. And the people that don't keep up with it, we'll get them later.
So maybe they're hoping that the word of mouth from the people that are liking it will attract more people to go see the films?
The general audience.
Okay.
Yes, because even though people seem to hate those last the last trilogy coming out of Star Wars, them junks made $1 billion.
I wonder what this means.
Somebody watched it multiple times.
I wonder what this means for Taika Waititi's Star Wars, because people have really been, although I like Taika Waititi stuff, I do believe, if you don't put him on a path, he will go willy-nilly all over the place. Yeah, you got to put the bumpers on the lane to keep him like on track. But I wonder if this means that Taika Waititi's Star Wars film is still going to come out.
He had, and I don't know if he was being funny or not. He had an interview. I think he was trying to promote his latest movie, Next Go Wins. And then the news came out about him saying he wasn't doing the next Thor. I think in that same interview, he had mentioned that his next Star Wars movie, everybody was going to like be upset. But I think he was like being tongue in cheek about it because everybody's giving him flack about Thor and how Thor didn't do well and it was too goofy and this and that third. It sounded like he was still working on it though, or at least the thought was still that he was going to do one. We'll see.
Also, I think Star Wars just recently announced earlier this year, they're doing a whole new set of prequel movies that take place before A New Hope.
Yes.
And they're doing another set of sequel movies that take place after Rise of Skywalker. So I wonder if those are going to still happen or if he was like part of the reason they decided to do those things, because he's going to have to oversee the creative choices for both of those.
3 more before and after might be too much. And I also think jumping back and forth they need to stick to one side of the fence, in my opinion.
Yeah, doing prequels and sequels at the same time is very tricky.
That I don't know who else has ever tried to do that.
But that's what they put on their timeline. They're definitely doing the prequels are supposed to show the Jedi Order like at their peak,
right?
Like when they had like total control and they were the light side was most powerful. The one movie was
supposed to be, somebody described it as like a 10 Commandments or something, right?
Yeah, 10 Commandments, but a Jedi movie,
right?
And then the Rise of Skywalker is supposed to be introducing a new threat and Rey's like training new Jedi. So I wonder if we'll start seeing characters from shows that he made pop up in those things.
Now, you know Mando gonna show up somewhere. Come on.
Yeah, but I'm just wondering where.
We'll
like,
see.
Are we gonna get some Ahsoka Rey scenes?
She would be,
or some Mando Rey scenes.
That would be very interesting.
Yeah,
I would as that gift goes. I would like to see.
I would like to see it. Yeah.
One thing he did say in this is that he was either. I'm not gonna go back and find the article to say word for word, but there was a mention of Ahsoka too, and I was like, "Oh yay, she gets off of the planet, please. Can she not be stuck?"
I don't know. She could be in that galaxy for a while.
How would you? Oh, okay. We're not gonna go over it because I'm still distraught that they just left her on that planet. She wasn't by herself, but anywho, we'll see what Dave Filoni comes out with. I think this is a good choice. I like the stuff that he's come out with within Star Wars. The fandom is not just gonna complain because that's what fandoms do, and I say that as we're a part of a couple fandoms.
Yep.
So next up, Superman Legacy casting. So last week it was announced that the casting for the engineer was casted, and we think that's the villain, although I think there's some wordplay going on and if she's playing a villain or not. But the next two castings we have are, I'm going to let you describe these because I don't know either of these characters.
Sure. So the first casting announcement we got was Sarah Sampow, who is playing a character called Eve Tessmacher.
Yes, and before we started recording, I was like, I don't know who that is.
I never knew her last name, but I know who Eve is.
Okay.
In DC, in the world of DC. So Sarah Sampow is a Portuguese model. She's not an actress. She's a Victoria's Secret model. She's a very accomplished Victoria's Secret model. Okay. At the age of 32, she has about 11 Best Female Model awards from various countries.
All right, so she's a model.
Yeah. So she's a very accomplished model. She's 23 years old. She's playing.
Oh, you 23? I thought you said 32.
Oh, yeah, she's 32. Sorry.
Oh, I was about to say. Oh.
She is 32.
Okay.
But she's not an actress. She's been in some things, but very minimal background extra roles.
So when I asked who this character was, you were like, well, I don't know why this character is in this and not the other more well-known character, because she plays, you said, Lex Luthor's assistant?
Yes. So she plays Eve, who is Lex Luthor's assistant in DC Comics and some TV shows and stuff. But Lex Luthor has a more prominently known assistant named Mercy.
Which when you
Mercy
said,
Graves.
Why did they not cast Mercy? And we have a theory that Eve ain't gonna make it.
I don't think so. You know what? It's kind of like when we watched The Batman with Robert Pattinson and we saw that there was another commissioner in the movie that wasn't Gordon. Yeah. You know that commissioner is going to die because we know Gordon becomes commissioner. It's kind of the same thing with Eve, where Eve is not like,
she's not Gordon.
She's level 1 assistant. Okay. You know Lex is going to move to the next level, so Eve has to make her exit at some point to make place for Mercy. And so
you pointed that out. Now that I know that, I'm like, girl, not making it to the end of the film.
Absolutely. And looking at her,
she just quits.
it's kind of like when Michael Bay casted Rosie, which was the other Victoria's Secret model in Transformers, as the replacement for Megan Fox.
Yes.
And she didn't really have to be an actress or anything because
she was just kind of there
and moving
around, screaming.
They didn't have to really commit to her character because they just needed somebody who was pretty to be a stand-in for Megan Fox. She doesn't really have to have a lot of lines and know a lot of lines. It's the exact same casting with this. I feel like
now I'm interested if our theory plays out.
Yeah, because Mercy is like the OG Lex Luthor assistant, because eventually Mercy, she's his assistant, but she's also his muscle. She has combat training. And then in some iterations, she gets like altered with like cybernetic parts. So where she can she's
Terminator?
She's basically like, she gets turned into like a Terminator at some point later on eventually. So
I was like, I called the engineer the Terminator in the other episode.
When people think of Lex Luthor, it's number 2, they think of Mercy. They don't think of Eve. So Eve is probably just a placeholder so they can introduce Mercy later on down the line.
I'm calling it. Eve is going to either meet her demise or get upset and quit in this movie. And then Mercy is going to be in the after credit scene.
This is going to be Mercy teases. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. We're calling it.
Second casting is Skylar Gisondo, who is playing Jimmy Olsen. Jimmy Olsen is pretty much just, he works at the Daily Planet. He's Superman's best human friend.
Okay.
Lois Lane is his girlfriend and wife or whatever. Jimmy Olsen is his human best friend.
So he's like
his Pete from Smallville.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got you. Okay.
And he's a photographer for the Daily Planet.
I saw the picture. Somebody took it out of a comic. He looked like he was a young photographer. Oh, he looks like a teenager. Is he a teenager?
The actor is 27.
No.
But they're all supposed to be in their early 30s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know who this Skylar guy is from. People were very excited. I was like, oh, I don't know who this young man is.
He is from Licorice Pizza, Booksmart, Vacation, and some TV shows. One TV show that I know he's from is Santa Clara Diet, which I've never watched, but that was the Netflix show with Drew Barrymore where she has to eat people.
Yeah, okay. So all the things you named that Skylar's been in, Sherrell's never seen. Which is why I was kind of like, oh, okay.
He's been in basically all of his stuff is very small stuff that doesn't have a lot of viewership or a lot of attention.
This is interesting because on Twitter, X, I'm still calling it Twitter. People were like super excited. I'm like, I feel like I miss the boat on who this guy is because I was okay.
No, he's very small time, very small screen.
Okay.
But James Gunn did say he was going to, he's only 27.
Right.
So James Gunn did say he was going to cast no-name people for a lot of these roles. And this makes fiscal sense.
Right.
For why he casted both of these people.
That and the fact that I'm very curious because there was a tweet, I think I took a screenshot and sent to you where they listed out the latest, all of the 10 people that have been casted in this movie. And I'm like, there's no way all these people have significant screen time.
Absolutely not.
So Jimmy may be in here half an hour. Jimmy may be in here 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Skylar's filmography goes back to 2003. So he's been a child actor. So maybe that's why he has a lot of fandom because he's just been in stuff since he was a kid.
Little thing here and there, little thing here and there.
But this will be the biggest thing he's ever done in his career.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Superman Legacy is still scheduled to come out next July. No, I'm sorry, 2025. So we have 2 years.
Yeah.
A year and a half before this comes out. More casting news. I'm pretty indifferent on Superman Legacy right now. I'm withholding why, and I'll wait till the movie comes out maybe to say why. But we'll keep you guys updated on how the progress of Superman Legacy goes.
I'm not indifferent, but I will say all of my expectations for anything DC related are tempered until I see the first thing.
I wish I could at least say tempered. I'm very much kind of like,
the cast looks bland. The whole cast is bland.
So
maybe, hopefully the movie being really good will make up for the bland casting choices. Because other than Rachel, what is her name?
Longbottom.
Rachel Longbottom. Rachel Brosnahan.
There it is.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
She is probably the most famous person on this cast list so far.
She is. She's the only one I know. She's the only one that I've seen in things outside of people.
House of Cards, Blacklist, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and Nicholas Hoult.
Right. Okay.
Nathan Fillion.
That's the guy from Guardians of the Galaxy, right?
He's been in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I am not big fans or even, I'm indifferent to all these people. And I think that's partially why I'm just kind of like, okay, sure.
Yeah, the strategy is interesting and I'm interested to see how it works out because not a single one of these people is a box office draw. Not a single one of these people.
But every time a casting comes out, people are
actor.
Like, James Gunn, it's another win. Cinema's back. Superhero movies are back. Marvel's dead. DC's taking over.
I know people were happy about Nathan Fillion because Nathan Fillion has been in a lot of stuff. He's only been a lead in like 2 things in his whole career.
I don't mind him. He's fine, but I don't go see movies because he's in them.
No, because whenever he's in a movie, he's a TV actor. Whenever he's in a movie, he's like playing a comedic cameo or a B character. Even in James Gunn stuff, even in this,
right?
He's been in Guardians of the Galaxies, both the Guardians of the Galaxies. Yep. He has been in the Suicide Squad as a background character. He is a background character in this movie. So James Gunn keeps him in the background. So even James Gunn knows that he's like not a lead actor.
It's Superman, so they are riding on this being a Superman movie to get people into the the butts in the seats, essentially. I don't think they're riding on the cast to bring those people in. So they're going to have to ride hard when the press tour come out.
I'm just waiting because, like I said, this cast is not inspiring. The best actress on this list is Rachel Brosnahan.
I like her.
And Nicholas Hoult. I like Nicholas Hoult and stuff. But he also is not a lead actor. So
he's okay.
There's that.
I don't dislike him. He's fine in the things he's Beast, right?
Yes.
He was also in Mad Max.
And he was in The Menu.
I didn't see that.
But he also he's not a lead actor. He was in Renfield, but that was received horribly. So I don't even know if that's going to help his career or not. If that helps people's expectations of him playing Lex Luthor, because his own movies where he's the lead doesn't do well. So
what's funny is he's apparently has tried to be Superman and Batman, and now he's Lex Luthor, and I'm just kind of like, at one end it's kind of like, oh, that's cool, he finally got into one of these roles because he obviously wants it, and on the other end it's kind of like, did y'all just kind of give it to him? Because
part of me feels like James Gunn felt bad.
It's 0 for 3, and y'all like, okay, he's keep trying and we got to give him something, but like Lex Luthor is pretty prominent, so y'all not handing him no hand-me-down role.
I don't want to put that role. I don't want to put that on Nicholas Hoult, but part of me feels like James Gunn just was like, I feel bad. You tried for these roles so many times, right? And people have, and he was just being talked about a lot on Twitter about he auditions for a lot of stuff outside of these two things that he doesn't get, and people were like, "Oh, well, there's no place in acting for Nicholas Hoult." And I don't want to. I think he's a good actor.
Yeah,
but
he seems good in the stuff I've seen him in. He's gonna be in that new horror movie.
He's going to be in Nosferatu.
Yes, that he's going to be in that.
Which is interesting because he was just in Renfield. So are you just going to do Dracula stuff?
He's doing Superman now.
Also, Isabella Mercedes in this, who is playing a hot girl. And she is also playing in Madam Web, one of the no-name Spider Women in the Madam Web movie.
Going to Madam Web for a hot second. We saw the trailer when we went to go see Napoleon. And you said something that made me go, wait a minute, this don't make no sense. I think when you said that they are all Spider Women in the same universe, and I was like, why would you do that?
I'm assuming this movie has an 1.5 hour runtime.
Probably.
How are you going to explain them going from the beginning of the movie where they're totally unaware regular civilians to the end of the movie where they're superheroes. Who are like fully in their costumes and in their suits. And
that was the other thing you said. I was like, that's a good point.
Sure, that's what superhero movies are about, like Blue Beetle and whatnot. But the thing with those characters,
he still had a part of the movie where he had to transition into being Blue Beetle.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like the trailer doesn't show any indication of where these girls get the combat training or the know-how to. Where do they get the super suits from? At least
they've been Black Widow all their life, and we just didn't know it.
Yeah, so.
Okay, I can sidetrack there. We had saw that trailer and we were talking about superhero stuff, and that made me think of that. So, Superman Legacy casting, it'll keep rolling out. We still don't know who's playing his parents.
We still know who we kind of may know who the villain is. They said the villain could be the engineer, but
somebody else said Brainiac, who I'm not familiar with.
I think Brainiac is going to be the overarching Thanos.
Okay.
Because Brainiac is the big bad, is a DC big bad. He's not like a Brainiac. Well, I mean, who knows? Because Ultron was a Marvel big bad and he was a one-off villain. So maybe they'll one-off Brainiac like he's not a big bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll keep you guys up to date on what's going on with Superman Legacy as we find things out. And I'm curious. I'm more curious about the reception of the movie than I am about the movie, which is probably not a good sign for me. But we'll see.
Okay.
Next up on our list, Scream 7 Debauchery.
Yes.
The first thing that came out, and I don't know, this was actually just a few days. It feels like it was longer, probably because of a holiday. But the first piece of news that came out was Melissa Barrera was fired from Scream 7. Scream 7 hasn't started filming.
No, hasn't even started writing.
Yeah, they were really, really early in the process. It did have the director.
It did have a director, the same guy who directed Happy Death Day and Freaky.
And we had no ideas about what the plot or anything was going to be.
There was a plot detail that was kind of a rumor that said that it was going to take place around Christmas.
Yes.
The last Scream took place on Halloween.
So we were thinking it was going to be like a holiday slasher type situation.
Yeah.
Okay. So she was fired for having pro-Palestine posts
Yes.
And I think it might have been in her Instagram stories.
Yeah.
Spyglass, who was the studio, or maybe they were the distributor behind, because there's Paramount and there's Spyglass. But Spyglass is the one who decided to fire her, saying that what she was saying was anti-Semitic. They ain't down for that, so they had to let her go. I literally summed up that whole statement in like one sentence. If you want to see what they said, you can Google it.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was let go. And basically all of Twitter went ablaze, essentially.
Because Scream has rebooted itself.
Yeah.
Kind of reinvented itself.
Totally.
And when you do that, Scream is now I came up with Scream, but Scream isn't even made for my generation anymore. It's made for Gen Z. It's made for the people who run Twitter.
You think so?
I don't think Scream is for my generation because they don't even have the legacy characters that.
Well, I think they've been trying to keep the original fan base, though.
I think they've been trying to keep us. It's kind of like Star Wars, where they're trying to keep everybody
and recruit new people into the fandom.
But the focus is on growth. And moving
I mean, in
forward.
the references in the movie, the references are a lot to like newer, like TikTok and social media. So I can see that.
Yeah,
for sure.
So I think it's very interesting that they made that choice to fire her.
It's a mess because let's talk about both pieces of news and then just go over it all together. Okay. The very next day. So obviously Melissa gets fired. Melissa is literally the lead character. There's co-leads, Melissa and Jenna Ortega. People are like, now how y'all gonna fire the lead of the movie? Like, what are y'all gonna do? So immediate speculation came out of like Jenna going, because Jenna has also been posting pro-Palestine and I don't know if it was tweets or Instagrams or whatever. She's been on social media very vocal about it. They were like, how are you firing one and not the other? But the very next day, Jenna Ortega left Scream 7. So now they are both gone. The studio tried to say that, or the trades tried to say, whoever, maybe one and the same.
I think the studios paid the trades to say.
Right. One and the same in this instance. Supposedly she left due to scheduling conflicts with Wednesday, her show Wednesday on Netflix. And this was in talks way before any of this came out about Melissa. And we all call him BS on that. Yeah. Because, come on. You fire your co-lead, and then the next day the other co-lead decides to leave for scheduling conflicts?
As soon as Scream 6 wrapped, Scream 7 was greenlit.
Sure was.
Because it was one of the highest grossing films of the entire franchise.
It might have been like that weekend or the next weekend they said that.
And it was one of the most received entries in the franchise. So of course they greenlit it like the week after because they were like, this is obviously a dynamite hit. Let's keep it going.
They have reinvigorated the franchise without the original cast.
Radio Silence said they weren't going to be returning because they were going to A24 to work on their own monster film, their unannounced monster film, which is going to star Melissa Barrera over there at A24. So they hired a new director. The director of Freaky and Happy Death Day, which is
Jason
Christopher Landon.
Okay. I was close.
So they hired Christopher Landon, which everybody was excited about that because his horror movies are really good. And the question was, are the cast going to be returning? Right. And the biggest question mark was over Jenna Ortega. This was months and months and months ago. Because I think Scream 6 came out at the beginning of this year.
Was that this year?
It was January?
Was that March? Megan was January or February, and Scream was March.
I think Scream 5 was January.
Yeah, this latest Scream 6 was March.
So Scream 6 came out. Months and months and months ago, there was a big question mark over Jenna Ortega's head whether she was going to come back because, one, she was the biggest star in the film. She had been acting the most and had the most credits. Yep. 2, she was filming Wednesday for Netflix, which is a Netflix hit. So they're like, is she going to have the time to come back? And at first it was, she's not going to be able to come back. But then Jenna came back and said, I'm going to be back in Scream. And the studio was like, we're going to work around Jenna's schedule.
Which is normal for you have a big star in a movie.
When you have a big star in a movie that depends on the movie's success, you move your schedule around. Right. The star moves her schedule. Y'all got to meet in the middle. So the studio was like, we're going to work around her schedule and make sure that we get everybody that y'all love back in this movie so y'all can pay to see this movie again.
Literally what they are doing for Pedro Pascal and Fantastic Four. So this is not uncommon to move schedules around.
Yeah, and The Last of Us and The Mandalorian, all the stuff Pedro Pascal has going on.
He has to. They're making it work. Marvel gonna make it work.
All of a sudden, and this took place 3 days ago. Mm-hmm. So 2 days ago, when Jenna quit, all of a sudden the studio was like, "Oh, we knew Jenna was going to be in the movie months ago. She said she was never coming back because of Wednesday." I'm like, that contradicts y'all saying months ago that y'all was working around her schedule. So now all of a sudden y'all knew forever ago that she was never going to be in this movie, and are just now saying something after you fired the other lead.
So many. I looked at the quote. I don't know if it was Hollywood Reporter or Variety, one of the big trades for that particular piece of news of her not coming back due to scheduling conflicts. And all the quote tweets were like, "Sure, Jan."
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we totally believe that the less than 24 hours later after you fire your other co-lead is like, "Oh, scheduling conflict. I can't do it."
Or y'all always knew that she wasn't going to be in the movie, but y'all thought this was the best time to announce her departure right after you fired the other lead.
Less than a day. It wasn't even 24 hours after they fired Melissa that we found out that Jenna Ortega wasn't coming back. Scream
it's done because
I was gonna say the word, but you said it for me.
as soon as Jenna Ortega quit and it was announced, then it was right after they said, "Oh, we already knew she was never going to be in it." Then the headlines came out about Spyglass was rushing to hire new writers to completely rework and rewrite and restructure the script for the story for Scream 7. So they're keeping
the writers from 6 now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They needed to restructure the whole story going forward because but how are you now all of a sudden needing to do restructuring if y'all knew she wasn't going to be in it anyway? Like that doesn't make any sense. So that one show, they showed their slip with that one.
Just lie.
2, it was
we don't believe it.
They're scrambling to get Neve Campbell and Patrick Dempsey back.
I hope she tells them
to save the franchise. And there are so many reasons why she should tell them no, but 2 big reasons is, one, they
already wasn't gonna pay her.
They screwed you.
Right. Absolutely.
And told you that they did not need you to keep going.
So a little backstory real quick for 5-10 seconds. Neve Campbell was not in the last Scream because they weren't going to pay her.
Yeah. She
the
said
appropriate amount. She said, "I'm worth more than this."
She said, I am Sidney Prescott. I should get more money. Yeah. This is I'm the reason y'all have been able to continue making these movies.
Draw. Hello.
Yeah. So they let her go because they said, "You're not worth the money you're asking for. We can do this without you." They gave her the boot, and it wasn't amicable.
No, it didn't seem
because
amicable.
She did interviews after the fact where she was talking about how they don't value women. They didn't value her contribution to the franchise, and she felt like it was time for her to go. So that's not an amicable split. No, that's not a best wishes. And she did say that she did like the cast, and she hopes that the girls do well, and she thinks the best of them. It was
very much like I have no ill will towards the cast, but the behind the scenes folks can go touch grass.
The second big reason is if she does come back, the reason that they were able to pay her what she asked for is because they fired 2 other women to get her that money.
It's not a good look.
2 other lead women. And that would be a bad look on Neve Campbell to be like.
They would have to move distribution companies or something. I don't know.
Yeah, they would have to give the rights to a different studio.
There it is. The rights. They would have to give the rights and let another studio make it to get rid of the foul taste in everybody's mouth right now.
Yeah. So Spyglass, the only way this movie is going to make any amount of money is if.
You think they're going to keep it?
Yeah, I think Spyglass is going to keep it.
Well, you think they're going to keep Scream 7? Or they going to try to do something else and
I think they're going to keep Scream 7.
Really?
I think they're going to try to give Neve Campbell back. If they don't, I think Scream is going to be canceled.
Okay. I think I'm with the cancel. I'm more of on the cancel side.
If they don't get Neve Campbell back, they're going to cancel Scream 7 and they're going to try again in 5 years.
What are they going to do?
They're going to wait. They're going to try to wait till it blows over and act like people have forgotten.
I don't think not this one.
They're
I don't
gonna
think this is going to be a blowover one.
I think they're going to shelve it, and they're going to be like, we'll come back in 5 years and we'll do another reboot with another set of characters and try not to screw it up this time.
But they're going to have to do a whole nother, like, why even call it Scream at that point?
Because it's still Scream. It's still Ghostface.
They're gonna need a bomb writer, like a bomb writer to even make that make sense.
They would need Kevin Williamson back, who wrote the first 3.
Okay.
And wrote 4. Okay. No, I think he wrote 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. Didn't write 3, 3 is like the most wildly different from the rest of them. He wrote 4. Mm-hmm. I think he wrote 5. I don't think he wrote 6.
Okay.
They would need the original writer back in order to get people to even think positively about this.
I was going to say, not even just getting people back to get people back. They're going to have to get people back who are like, okay, now people going to look at me sideways for working on this. So I'm going to need some compensation for that. Yeah. Or they just not going to be like, I don't want the negative PR. So no, thank you. I don't want it.
And basically Marissa Barrera's, if you want her full statements of what the full post, because I think it was like 1 or 2 posts was
I think she's made some IG posts after the fact.
Well, before she got fired. So I think it was 2 posts that she made that they fired her for, which were basically pro-Palestine and supporting a ceasefire. Yes. So basically, Spyglass said,
past the war.
Spyglass came out and said, if you support Palestine, it's anti-Semitic, which you're familiar with that. They attach anti-Semitism to so many things all the time.
Susan Sarandon also got dropped from her.
She was pro-Palestine
for saying something, and it's sending a very clear message of, you say this, we're going to get rid of you, and that's not good. Mm-hmm. That's not good. Like, freedom of speech is supposed to be a thing. Like, and you trying to blackball people for being supportive of people who are being killed. Yeah, like it doesn't sound right.
Somebody on Twitter did make a very interesting comment, and they said that it's very interesting that Scream has reinvented itself for the younger generation, for this Generation Z. And Gen Z majority is pro-Palestine and pro-ceasefire, and you fire your stars for being like, where do you think your fan base money comes from?
I think it was either TikTok or one of the social media apps were like, no, it's not the algorithm. Our users are just more pro-Palestine. Like, we not fudging the numbers and being trickery. That's just what the generation or
younger generation.
That's what the users are gravitating to. Mm-hmm. Pro-Palestine. Like, this is what it is.
Boomers loved war. War was like their big thing. That was like their big Saturday night activity was war. Younger generation does not care for war.
Yeah, we're not trying to do all that.
It results in death, and it costs everybody money. Mm-hmm. And it's senseless. So I think it's very strange that y'all decide to fire your younger stars that you hired to attract the younger audience, and then y'all fire them
for speaking
and think that your younger audience is going to still be here to support your films.
So I think the studios are probably going to regret this. Maybe they won't. I don't know. It's given very much speaking out against something that is not right is getting you blackballed from your agency or your films or your work, and that ain't a good message. Other actors have been fired for saying a lot of sideways things, and sometimes them sideways things are actually sideways. Right. Like, what are you saying?
If you use your power and influence to support people who are being killed, we will get you out of here.
That's
the message that's being sent.
That's not a good message. So Scream 7 is probably dead. DOA on arrival. Mm-hmm. But if anything comes out of it, We'll mention it. We'll talk about it.
And it's sad.
Jay's a big Scream fan. So
I love Scream. It's my favorite horror franchise.
It's sad to see your favorite franchise going through this hot mess right now.
It's sad, but Scream 7 ended beautifully.
Oh, the ending was
Scream 6. Scream 6 ended beautifully.
We didn't even know, but the way that it ended, we could have not gotten another movie.
They literally left the ghost mask on the street and walked off into the sunset.
Pretty much.
And the movie faded to black. That is like the perfect ending of anything.
It was a good ending for sure. And I don't think, of course, at that point, if you had seen the movie opening weekend, we didn't know if another one was coming out. Now, you probably could have guessed based on like the box office and how it went, but it was wrapped up.
Yeah.
It was literally wrapped up. So little did we know that was probably the actual wrapping up before we knew it was a thing.
And I hope Nev doesn't come back. If she does, it would make me look differently at her, because there's no way you can tell me that the reason they were able to pay you what you asked for now is not because of the 2 girls that they just fired.
It would not be well received.
It wouldn't.
And
it would contradict her pro-woman message that she left out on.
Right. Because, her very big thing was like, they not paying women.
They don't pay women. But now, if you come back, it's like, they pay women now by firing other women.
Right.
So,
right. And as long as I don't say anything in particular, they'll let me keep the job.
Yeah.
Like, that ain't good.
Yeah, they pay quiet women. That's not the great message
to
send. That's not the message you want to send out to the world.
That is not the message you want to send at all, period. So that is all our news for this week. We're going to take a short break and we'll get back and do our review for Napoleon.
Yay. Okay, we are back and it is time for our movie review of Napoleon. Cheryl, read off the cold hard facts.
Dun, 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 dun. Napoleon was released November 22nd, 2023, which was 3 days ago from the day of this recording. It is directed by Ridley Scott. If you are not familiar with Ridley Scott, I'll do a little filmography rundown for you. Alien, G.I. Jane,
yes.
Gladiator, American Gangster, and most recently, The Last Duel, which I did not see, and nobody else apparently saw either.
No, the subject matter took me off of that.
It wasn't well received, and Ridley Scott actually blamed millennials for not going to go see the depressing movie.
Well, The Last Duel was also extremely factually inaccurate as well. Huh. There was a lot of controversy around the facts of The Last Duel. Especially in terms around whether or not Adam Driver's character and the Queen actually had an affair or not.
Yeah. I actually read about it because I was curious
whether she lied about it.
Because that's Adam Driver and who's our other favorite?
Jodie Comer.
There it is. I was like, we like Jodie Comer.
Yes.
So I read the movie, like the synopsis and the plot and the spoiler and all that, because I like the actors and I was just curious how it ended. It was like, wait a minute, we don't know if he actually. Anywho, also upcoming for Ridley Scott is Gladiator 2, which is going to star Pedro Pascal and Denzel Washington. So despite our feelings about this movie, which you'll hear in a second, we're going to go see that. Yes. Ridley Scott is an established, acclaimed director. He hasn't won any Oscars though. Did you know that?
Gladiator was robbed.
He said in a recent interview, because he's apparently the only person that's been doing promotion for this movie, which we talked about. I guess somebody asked him, how would you feel if you won an Oscar? And he said it's about effing time. So he doesn't have an Oscar.
That's fair.
It's interesting because some of his movies are like, American Gangster, Alien, Gladiator. Great movies. And then some of his filmography is like...
His greats are greats, but his duds are absolutely duds.
Yeah, and he's very outspoken. He's been quite outspoken about this movie and the historical accuracies or inaccuracies and whatnot. I'm curious of what his comments are going to be after this movie, like it's been out and like the reception and the box office and all that. But this particular movie, Napoleon, is starring Joaquin Phoenix and Vanessa Kirby. There are plenty other people in this movie, which I don't think most people might be super duper familiar with. So don't hate me for not naming them. But that is the 2 main people in this movie. Runtime is 2 hours and 37 minutes. Budget of $200 million USD, which is high. Box office projected for globally, the opening weekend is about 70 million. It's Saturday. We're recording on Saturday. So they still have a whole nother day of box office numbers together, but it's projected to do 70 million plus globally, which is higher than what they thought it was going to be.
Tony Scott is Ridley Scott's brother.
Is he? Did I know that? That could have been a trivia.
I didn't know they were related. Wow. Tony Scott has a much better career than Ridley Scott.
Tony Scott. Oh, let's read off Tony Scott's filmography.
Top Gun.
Oh, okay.
Days of Thunder. Crimson Tide. Enemy of the State. Man on Fire. Deja Vu and Unstoppable.
They trying to outdo
Tony Scott is the better brother. Who knew that?
Yeah.
He has more hits. Ridley Scott's career has definitely had hits, but it's spotty. Tony Scott's career is much better than Ridley Scott's career.
When you say Ridley, my mind goes to Tony. And I'm like, why is Tony so...
And a lot of these are like Denzel Washington movies.
Well, listen, if it works, it works.
And you know what? Tony Scott is the one that cast black people because Ridley Scott does not.
There are 2 black people in this movie. Maybe.
Man on Fire, Deja Vu, Unstoppable, and Enemy of the State are Beverly Hills Cop 1 are exclusively black films. Yes. Those are exclusively black films.
Now I'm wondering if I'll be thinking of Tony when I'm talking about Ridley. No, because
That is
Ridley Scott
crazy.
did Alien.
He did Alien and Blade Runner.
And Gladiator,
Ridley Scott is
one of my
definitely
favorite movies.
Ridley, but I think Tony Scott is my favorite Scott brother. I did not know that.
Yeah. Now that you say that, interesting.
Wow, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, because the family is talented between the 2 of them.
He did Domino with Keira Knightley, Spy Game.
I like Domino. People, I think, wrote off Domino like the moment it came out.
Spy Game, True Romance.
Wait. Spy Game with, who was that with?
Spy Game was with
Michael Douglas?
Robert Redford.
Oh,
Brad
yeah,
Pitt.
Brad Pitt.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I like that one. I remember that movie.
Wow.
Listen, you learn listening to this podcast, and we learn by doing this podcast. Ratings for Napoleon. Cinema score was a B-. Not great.
It's fair. I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree with that. Rotten Tomatoes, which I also agree with. Critic score was a 61%. Audience score was a 60.
You know, it's weird.
Which I thought would be higher base. I don't know. I just thought it would be higher. 60 feels...
I would have thought it would be at least a 75 audience score.
Yes, that's... Yeah. Mm-hmm. I even would have given it a 70.
Cinema score, word of mouth, and Rotten Tomatoes audience score are very strange nowadays. Because you'll have the audience score and the cinema score that say one thing, but then you have fan reception, which is word of mouth, which is where people actually post their reviews, like on Twitter or on like Instagram, review boards, on
Threads,
Reddit,
which apparently is still a thing.
And it seems like the reception, the word of mouth is overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah.
But when people, it's just strange where, okay, so what is the truth? Is the truth
y'all hated it or y'all loved it?
Is the truth the audience reception when they actually go tell people how they felt about the movie? Or is the truth when people do the poll outside of the movie?
They just
because they're not matching up. Everybody online is saying this is one of the greatest movies ever made. And then, but when they asked you to survey it for the cinema score, you said you didn't like it.
And you have to think cinema score is a sample size because they don't go to every movie theater in every city in every state to get cinema score. They're just doing a sample size. And Rotten Tomatoes audience score is also a sample size because everybody who somebody might have to back me up or research me or fact check me. I'm pretty sure there's more Rotten Tomatoes audience reviews than there are people who got polled by cinema.
Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I wouldn't have given it a 60% audience. Like I would give it 3 out of 5 stars. I feel like 60% is more in like the 2.5 to 3. Maybe I do agree then.
Yeah, because cinema score I think comes if a movie debuts on Thursday. Cinema score is usually out by Saturday.
Yeah, but this was a weekend, so they're counting. Oh, and I guess I should mention that the global box office projection is for a 5-day window, not the typical 3-day window. So somebody needs to do the math on that, how much it would have made in a normal weekend versus this holiday extended weekend.
So yeah, the cinema score usually is on average out by Saturday, midday. But
sometimes early in the morning, it's the first thing I see.
And the cinema score, once it's posted, it's final. But the audience score for Rotten Tomatoes, that goes continuous. People can still submit reviews for even movies released 30 years ago, and that can affect the audience score.
I think once it gets a cap or a certain number, you can kind of tell where it's going to go, and not like 1 or 2 reviews might not sway it. But and even with the critic score, because I think me or you looked back at the Marvels and noticed that the critic score actually went up since the last time, because more critics have seen it since it's been out and felt like they must have liked it because it went up. So
yeah, it's fresh, critic and audience. So
don't get me on the Marvels because that is a whole nother topic, and we've already had an episode on it, which you can go review on our podcast. All right, so those are the hard facts and special commentary sidetrack about Napoleon and Ridley Scott and Tony Scott. Now we're going to jump into the plots. Which
did you have the cast already?
Yeah, I said it was Joaquin Phoenix and Vanessa Kirby. That's it. Those are the main people.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, that was about it.
I mean, there were side characters that had significant enough-ish screen time, but in my opinion, the movie mainly focused on Napoleon and I'm forgetting her name.
Let's say maybe because a lot of the actors and actresses were foreign, that's why we don't know them.
Oh, that's fair enough.
Because there were a lot of people in this movie, and I find it, and they were really good actors and actresses.
Josephine, I forgot Vanessa Kirby's characters.
There were a lot of people in this movie, so I can't imagine it all being known names. Maybe they're just known. Maybe they're just not known in the U.S.
Okay, so I'm gonna
butcher these names.
I'm gonna butcher these names, but I'll name a couple more people on the cast. Tahar Rahim plays Paul.
Okay. Paul,
in the movie was his politician friend from the beginning who was trying to get him on board.
Oh, that he eventually. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. So Paul, Tahir is a French Algerian actor, so that might be once again why we don't know who he
I've
is.
seen him in. Oh my God.
Who is
Cheryl.
He? Another revelation? We 2 for 2. Who is it? Wait. Let me guess. Give me a clue.
He's in a movie that's coming out.
Give me a clue. Gladiator 2. He looked like he could be in Gladiator 2. Is he in a Marvel movie?
No.
Okay, he's not.
He's exclusively not in a Marvel movie.
He's in a DC movie.
No. Worse.
Is he the villain in Madam Web?
Yes.
Napoleon's probably the better movie. I'm just gonna say it. I ain't seen Madam Web yet. I seen that trailer, but I liked him in this movie though.
No.
Yeah, okay, so
that is such a step down.
Tahir Rahim plays Napoleon's, he plays Paul Bears, a politician who is the executive head of directory during the French Revolution. He seems like in this particular movie, he's Napoleon's kind of second in command, or like his, he's a politician. Let's just put it that way. He's a politician who works with Napoleon. I think Napoleon, the other person who's probably prominent in this movie is Napoleon's brother, who's played by Matthew Needham, who's British. So I'm not familiar with him either.
Yeah, the rest of these people we don't know, but if you go to the individual filmographies, they are working actors.
Okay,
been in a lot of stuff.
There are a lot of English actors in this. There's a Moroccan British actor who played one of Napoleon's commanders.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think. English actor. Most of the guys are English.
Robert Everett, who played the British general towards the end of the movie. He was in My Best Friend's Wedding. So they've been in a lot of movies. That was in 1997. Okay. So with Julia Roberts. Yeah. Okay. So they're all working actors. They've just been in a bunch of stuff. We don't know who they are because they just haven't been in a lot of American films. But I do think it's funny that Tahir Rahim is going to be in Madam Web.
That's funny.
This lends credence to when people say when you're an actor, sign as many deals as you can because you never know which one's going to come out first. Yeah. And it could ruin your chances getting Because I think if Madam Web had came out already, he would not be a Napoleon.
Which is a testament to say that he's good in this movie.
Yeah, he's good in this movie. He was one of my favorite characters in the movie.
Yes. So yeah, we can talk about characters. I liked him.
I
also like Vanessa Kirby playing Josephine.
Vanessa Kirby did an amazing job.
She did really good.
Yeah.
And I guess we might be biased because we already like Vanessa Kirby and everything we've seen her in already. I should probably go see some more Vanessa Kirby stuff because I'm like, you know what? I like you. I should go see some other things you in.
Yeah, Vanessa Kirby has been in a lot of stuff. In this movie,
she's also English, by the way. I knew that.
I think she's been acting for quite some time, but I did not discover her until Mission Impossible.
I'm looking at her. Mission Impossible Fallout is the first thing I think I've also seen her in. You know what's funny? She did Mission Impossible. What's going on? She did Mission Impossible Fallout, and then after that, she did Fast and Furious Hobbs and Shaw.
See, you got to sign these deals soon as they come in.
They brought her back for Mission Impossible Day of Reckoning, which she was good in. She was probably one of my favorite characters in that one too.
Okay.
She did Napoleon, and it looks like she's going to be in the next Mission Impossible. According to Wikipedia, she's going to be in the next Mission Impossible as well. which is cool because I liked that.
So she's just another one of those. She was in Pieces of a Woman, which came out not too long ago, which was the movie about the miscarriage.
Okay.
So she's been acting for quite some time. I didn't discover her until Mission Impossible.
Mhm.
She was one of my favorite characters in that Mission Impossible.
Absolutely.
She was really good. She's like a really good Bond girl in Mission Impossible. But as far as Napoleon,
she's the White Widow in Mission Impossible. So she's
Yeah.
kind of like I don't want to call her anti-hero. She's a villain depending on what you got for her.
yeah, basically.
She's like
she's got her own agenda.
There it is.
And in Napoleon, she kind of reminded me a lot of Emily Blunt's character, where she had to play like the woman scorned to whoever
In
this great
Oppenheimer?
man was. Yeah, in
Mhm.
Oppenheimer.
Mhm.
And I thought she did a really, really, really good job.
She was the highlight of this movie for me. And I like Joaquin Phoenix, and my criticisms of this movie has nothing to do with any of the acting.
No.
Everybody's acting was good.
Mhm.
Everybody played their parts. Everybody had kind of they stood out in their own ways.
Mhm.
Like, even if I don't remember the character's name, I remember, oh, that's the guy from the one scene who did this.
Yeah.
Kind of like thing. So the acting definitely wasn't a nitpick. But I would say top 2 favorites. I'll go ahead and rank them. Vanessa Kirby,
Number
Tahir
one.
Rahim,
Did.
which is so funny now.
Mhm.
And no, let me take that back. Vanessa Kirby, Joaquin Phoenix, Tahir Rahim, I would say. And it's funny because Tahir Rahim is gone like halfway through this.
He pops up. He's in a big chunk at the beginning. He pops up sporadically throughout the rest of it.
Yeah.
But he has a big
show up the last like hour or so?
like I don't even think he has additional lines later on in the film. When
No.
he pops up, you just see him
Yeah.
as a historical figure in the background or whatever.
Yeah.
But,
So those are my favorite. I don't think there are any people or any actors or any roles that I didn't necessarily like. I don't think. I mean, like, there are a lot of, it's a
We went with 2 additional people, and one of them said that they did not like the mom, the character who played Napoleon's
her role
mom.
was so insignificant to me that I didn't care.
Yeah, I didn't think she was bad, but I don't think they did a good. There were some missed opportunities, I think, with his mom in the film.
She could have been in it more if they were trying to go with Napoleon was a mama's boy, which is kind of what it felt like they were going for.
And that's not a spoiler because Napoleon, everybody knows who Napoleon is. If you don't know his history, phrases and references to Napoleon have existed since, his inception. So Napoleon Complex, Napoleon Dynamite, he's just referenced.
He's a historical figure.
Yeah.
So if you know his mom, you know his mom. If you don't know his mom, this movie didn't add any context.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there were any characters I was like, this is annoying, get him out of here, kill him off screen, something. So none of that. I would say, as far as the plot of the movie,
it's pretty simple.
I don't know what the plot, that's hard to say. I can't say I don't know what the plot was. Normally a movie has a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Mm-hmm.
And normally the main character has some sort of character arc. Like they either grow or change or get worse. Kind of in Hunger Games. We had Snow. We saw where Snow came from. We saw Snow have this tension, this conflict. And then we saw Snow descend into being who he eventually grows to be. By the end of the movie. We ain't get none of that in Napoleon at all.
Yeah.
Period.
I'm just going to jump to one of my notes.
Okay.
To sum up the movie, it's like a 2 hour and 45 minute episode of Drunk History.
You did say that.
Where you are watching somebody's very loose, tipsy recollection of, like, they read Napoleon's chapter in the social studies textbook.
They did a little Wikipedian. They did a little Googling.
And then they got drunk and you made
told them,
recite,
so tell me what you
recite
learned.
it to you.
Right.
And this is the Napoleon movie. It's a drunk history episode of Napoleon. Even in the funny ways. It's even funny.
That's my biggest thing with this movie, I think, is that Joaquin Phoenix clearly took some liberties on who he thought how Napoleon should be in this movie. And he clearly went to goofy.
Yeah. Because
that's like the one word to describe it.
It's like that drunk history episode on Harriet Tubman, and I forgot who the person telling the story was. But they're telling
Was that Crystal?
They're telling the story of Napoleon. Was it? I mean, I'm sorry, Harriet Tubman.
I'm looking it up because I feel like that was her.
I think Octavia Spencer played Harriet Tubman.
She sure did. Octavia Spencer played Harriet Tubman. I'm trying to think who. Yeah, it was Crystal was the narrator.
Okay, so it was the episode of Drunk History where Crystal is telling the story of how Harriet Tubman was on the boat and she was like fighting people on the boat and she was a pirate. She was kind of like basically a pirate.
Yeah.
That's Napoleon. That's the movie where it's like Ridley Scott got drunk and this is his recollection of the events of Napoleon's life were.
And you know what's funny is that he didn't write this. Somebody else wrote this.
Yeah.
So it's almost as if the writer wrote it, he read it and was like, let's jizz it up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's add a little spice.
Yeah, it's like the writer wrote it and Ridley Scott was like, you know what? Let me sprinkle a little fiction on top.
A little bit of breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
Add a little texture.
Yeah.
A little flavor on top of it. His filmography, the writer is David Scarpa. David Scarpa.
He's written a lot of good stuff.
Are you sure about that?
I think so.
You might be getting David mixed up with somebody else.
I've heard that name before. Read it off.
The Last Castle, these are his films.
I don't know what that is.
The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Which one?
2008.
It's Tom Cruise.
Which Day the Earth Stood Still is this? Keanu Reeves, Jennifer Connelly, Jaden Smith.
Oh, that was War of the Worlds was Tom Cruise. The Day the Earth Stood Still, I did not see that. No.
I did not see that one.
Okay.
All the Money in the World.
I did not see that one.
Napoleon.
Okay.
Gladiator.
Is there a different Scarpa?
Who you thinking of? But it ain't this one. Yeah. So that.
Who wrote Gladiator 1?
Let me check for you. 1 second. It wasn't David though.
No.
It was John Logan. Remember we talked about John Logan last episode because he's co-writing. Oh, he's doing Hannibal.
Oh wow, he wrote Penny Dreadful.
Who? John Logan?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We are so off on a tangent right now.
And Skyfall. And Sweeney frickin' Todd. Okay.
So the premise, the purpose of this whole tangent.
He's writing They Them.
Oh,
that's the slasher movie about the kids with Kevin. Kevin
Bacon.
It came out in 2012. It's a slasher movie where Kevin Bacon runs the gay conversion camp, and there's a killer at the camp killing the kids.
Yes. So circling it back, David Scarpa has not written a ton of things.
No, but it doesn't make me scared for Gladiator 2.
Well, no. Gladiator 2. Oh, it does make you scared.
Yeah.
Ooh. What?
Yeah.
I was trying to.
What do you think about as creative as he got with Napoleon? I don't want him to be that creative with Gladiator because I want Gladiator 2 to follow the lines of the first Gladiator.
Right. They didn't get John Logan back, who wrote the first Gladiator.
I don't want the Napoleon version of Maximus Aurelius's son story.
Okay. Well, what I was getting at was I can see how David and Ridley kind of collaborated on this writing part and decided to take some liberties in how they depicted Napoleon because Joaquin, and I guess you can sprinkle in Joaquin Phoenix's own style. He was goofy. And one of my notes, I think, says kind of goofy, ? Because I was like, why is he, for him to be Napoleon, like the general, the Napoleon, y'all know who Napoleon is. Why was he acting so just kind of aloof? They
tried to make him purposely funny. He was trying to be funny.
The audience literally laughed several times in our theater. Full on laugh. And I think it was on purpose. Like they set it up for that scene or whatever, that line to be funny.
And I get that you probably have to do that to add levity to the fact that this dude killed 3 million people. Even though some people say that number is embellished, there are some facts about the Napoleon movie.
A lot. How about a lot?
Yeah.
I'm sure they ain't 1 million off. I'm sure they ain't 2 million off.
But our thoughts on the movie, I love all the characters, love the acting. Mm-hmm. The movie was very spotty.
Yeah.
This is not a biopic. Do not go into this movie with Oppenheimer expectations. No. Because it's not even, it sticks to the historical events that actually happened.
The bulk of the movie,
these battles happened. These conversations happened. The way these battles took place and the way these conversations happened were not accurately depicted.
Yeah, they took some, and like Jay said earlier, I read up on like what are the differences between what actually happened and what the movie depicted.
Mm-hmm.
And one historian they talked to said he got the overall picture right. Like these are the battles that happened, and this is the people that were involved. But this, like, he didn't blow the tops off of the pyramids.
No.
Ridley Scott literally said, "I just added that because it looked cool." So there are definitely moments in this movie where you have to go in. You either don't take this movie as you need to do your own homework after this. Basically.
And some of the scenes kind of just made no sense. And we'll get into that in spoilers because the way this movie was cut,
yeah,
it was cut.
A lot of jumping
between time periods really had no conclusion. A lot of it just seemed like they cut the scene because that's all the information they had about Napoleon at that time. So they didn't know. They didn't have a way to definitively end this part of the story.
Right.
They just cut to a different part of the story.
The flow of the movie was not my favorite.
No.
Like the pacing, as people like to say, was off.
Yeah.
For me, for sure. I'm trying to think. What else do I want to say before spoilers? The battles look good.
Good battles.
But
I see you leaned over to me and said you see where the $200 million were spent.
I do see where the budget went versus Killers of the Flower Moon, where I'm still figuring out, did they pay Leo $100 million and pay Robert De Niro $100 million, and then everything else was free? I don't know. I don't know where all that money went. But I can see how, I can see it.
Yeah. The war, I definitely saw the money put into the war budget.
Now, did he actually need this budget to do this movie? I think not. I think they could have got a little creative and cut some of the budget down. But it's an Apple movie, so they got it.
I'm not exactly sure. I see $200 million on screen, but it's in various places.
It's mostly in the battles.
It's in the costuming. It's in the battles. It's probably in the livestock because there's so many horses.
It's also probably in the buildings. I'm assuming they
set design.
Set design was probably
it's definitely not in paying the stars because there's only 2.
Right.
Maybe Ridley Scott.
Paid himself
because director's budget is in there.
Okay.
So
fine.
The budget is the studio's money, not Ridley Scott's money. So yeah.
I still think $200 million is a lot for this kind of movie, but I think a lot of these movies' budgets are too high.
Movie budgets have gotten ridiculous.
Yes, as much as I love the Marvels, that budget was high. I mean, absolutely. A lot of these superhero movie budgets are too high. But when you can see it, it's easier maybe a pill to swallow as a viewer. You're like, oh, okay, I can see the spectacle, the set design, the CGI, the visuals, the fight scene. You can see it, so it makes sense. So I guess I can see it more on this versus I can see Killers of the Flower Moon, which has the same budget.
So, is anything likes, dislikes that are non-spoilery?
I'd rather just say before the spoilers.
Okay, so we're jumping into spoiler territory. 3, 2, 1. You want to go first?
One of the things I didn't like was that, and maybe this might have been true, was after Napoleon is trash to Josephine and divorces her because she can't conceive, and he immediately goes to find another wife and have a kid. In the movie, he brings the baby to Josephine. And I'm like, and she's just kind of like, oh, sweet summer child. And I'm like, why?
I don't know if that's true.
And why add it?
Because
what did that add to the story?
So what I think is true is the letters. I think the letters you can actually get and look at. I think
the letters were, because they said they were sold. Or in the movie, Josephine's daughter says that they sold the letters from the mom when she passed away.
Yeah.
So cool. I'm cool with that. But why would he bring his child to his
I didn't get that scene.
Ex-wife, essentially.
I also didn't get the scene where she says, so yeah, he marries Josephine. They're together for a while. She can't produce an heir. So he divorces her to get another wife. And they continue to keep a friendship. Yeah. And at first I didn't believe it, but they have the letters to prove that they continue to be friends through and through.
One of the historians said that they stayed, friends after they got divorced.
When he finally gets an heir and he brings the baby to see Josephine, and she says to the baby, well, first she takes the baby and she's like cradling it and cooing it or whatever. And I think she's going to throw it in the lake.
You definitely thought she was about to toss that baby into the lake she was standing at.
I mean,
Would have spiced it up a bit.
That's an awful thing to do, but everybody in this time period is awful. So it would be on brand.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been surprised if she didn't throw the baby in the lake.
The movie starts off with Marie Antoinette getting her head chopped off.
Lopped
and they
off.
don't cut it out.
Yeah.
You literally see her head chopped off and then they hold her head up.
Yeah.
So,
but she tells the baby, one day you'll realize what I sacrificed for you. And I did not get that.
You're right. She did say that.
I didn't get what she meant by that.
I don't know either because, not a spoiler. If you know the history, Napoleon gets exiled twice.
Mm-hmm.
The second time he gets exiled, he eventually dies in exile.
Mm-hmm.
And his kid gets nothing.
Yeah.
Like he's left with no legacy other than the craziness of his daddy.
He rises to the rank. He wins so many battles. He proves himself. He rises to the ranks of emperor. Okay, that's deserved. They sent you out there to conquer, and you conquered. You got the results that they asked for
a little while.
So you earned the title of emperor. And I think it was kind of like they see you as a general.
Yeah.
The kings that you're trying to negotiate with see you as a general. You have to make yourself an emperor and put yourself at their level before they respect you. Right. So I got that he needed to be the emperor.
Yeah.
Cool. But you got exiled. You lost the title. And
twice.
All of this chaos that you reigned against Josephine to give you an heir because you needed something to leave an heir and you ended up with nothing.
Nothing. So now that you bring that line back up, I don't see how that kid saw anything but other than his dad was in over his head.
Yeah, I don't know.
Everything.
Yeah,
that was writing. It's writing. We're gonna chalk that up.
I didn't get what she meant by I sacrificed. You'll see what I sacrificed for you, because I was just kind of like, you didn't sacrifice anything. I think they portrayed Josephine as not initially in love with Napoleon, but she definitely wanted to keep the lifestyle that came with being empress.
Yes, for sure.
And when they divorced, she did not want that. She wanted to stay empress and live there.
In real life, she wanted to. In the movie, they more depicted as she knew it was coming, and she was, it was bittersweet. Like, I knew this was coming, and I'm a little sad about it because this is my friend. But, y'all set me up, so I'm cool. Because she got a house and her kids was taken care of. She gets
$1 million annual income.
Yeah, she gets a salary.
Who needed that then?
Yeah, I don't even know what the conversion
$1 million
is on
francs
that to today's
$1 million francs per year,
something like that. But in real life, apparently she did not want that. So another writing choice to where they decided to twist history just a tinge. So I didn't really feel like I didn't really care about their relationship, to be honest. Like, once he divorced her and he was obviously doing it because she couldn't have an heir, but he still loved her and he still wanted her to be his, even though he knew that wasn't going to work out, and the letters back and forth. I was like, I don't care. I don't care. You did the deed. Like, yeah, leave me alone. I don't want to do nothing with you no more.
But clearly they had the proof to show that they were still friends, although it did not make sense to me. A lot of people said that maybe it's the toxicity that kept them together, and that's what it can be related to modern times.
Fine.
It was their toxic relationship.
Fine.
Maybe if it was modern day, they would be texting instead of writing letters to each other. He would be texting his ex-girlfriend while he's with his new wife.
Sending DMs.
Yeah. Probably. So their relationship, even though it was the best part of the movie.
Real. I would say Vanessa Kirby, her acting was the best part of the movie.
Their scenes together.
Were
the best parts of the movie.
Okay.
The second best parts would be the battles.
We agree there. Yeah. For sure. The battles were good. I wish they would have showed a little more, like the battles happen and you get to see a little bit of how Napoleon how he strategized before a battle and how he, lined people up and hit people here and had people on the lookout and was able to win all his battles. Mm-hmm. That part was cool to me. Mm-hmm. I wish they would have showed a little more what happened immediately after, because they would win the battle and literally cut to the next scene of them kicking. And I
think they just went home after each one.
There had to have some talks, some discussions, some lessons learned, something like.
I think they were gone for months each battle because they had to walk there. But I think that they just, after each battle, they just went back home.
That's what the movie was like. They just went back home and then,
planned the next one.
A little chat, little scene, little him trying to have a baby with Vanessa Kirby, and then next battle. And that was pretty much the whole movie. Talking, battle, talking, argument, talking, battle, talking, argument,
behind the scenes
battle,
negotiations,
scheming, plotting, battle.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the plot of the movie.
That was pretty much the entire movie. It ran like that in order, back to back.
Which now that I didn't think of that until just now. I was like, it's pretty much not cookie cutter, but it's repetitive.
Yeah, outside of his conversations with Vanessa Kirby and the battles, there's nothing else to really look at.
And I think earlier today or maybe yesterday I was saying how in Oppenheimer there's a plot twist. Essentially,
yes.
If you didn't really, you kind of went into the movie having a little knowledge, not really sure of all the details. There was a plot twist where you were like, oh, because the bomb goes off halfway through the movie, twice, one on camera, they test it on camera. You see that part in the film, and then when they actually drop the bomb, that's not shown in the film, but you hear it on like the news and stuff like that. But that's halfway through the movie. And
the plot twist, I guess they had a second plot twist too. The plot twist that it was Robert Downey Jr. was his own demise. His character was his own demise, where he thought that Oppenheimer turned Einstein against him. But in reality, Einstein never liked him in the beginning.
Yeah, so it was kind of like a 1-2 punch in Oppenheimer. And that was 3 hours. This movie, there is no plot twist. It's literally... He fights.
And I thought about it really hard.
He argues. I'm not saying he, like we just said, talking, argue, talking, battle. Scheming, talking, argue, battle. Sex scene, talking, argue, battle. And that's literally like how the whole, up until he dies at the end.
Maybe the plot twist was that Josephine died while he was in exile.
No.
We saw that coming because it's the 1800s. If you showed me one scene of somebody coughing, it's not going to be a surprise if they're dead the next scene because any ailment in the 1800s is a death sentence.
Yeah, the fact that she died while he was in, like, that wasn't a shocker at all. I mean, the fact that if she would have lived till the end, I would have been like, oh, I'm surprised they kept her alive.
I was surprised she didn't get her head lopped off. I went in here knowing
that would have been that's not historically accurate, so they couldn't add that.
I mean, what else? Everything else was fake, but I went in not knowing a lot about Josephine. I knew who Napoleon was. Yeah. I knew like the big facts about Napoleon, but I didn't do any extra research going into the movie. I had
I didn't either.
No background information on Josephine.
No, I didn't either.
So I expected her to have her head lopped off at some point. So I was surprised that she did not have her head lopped off.
Yeah. I'm surprised her lover that she ended up. That was one of my notes was Napoleon was mad that she was cheating. Like, you was gone for months at a time. What do you think
and he also said that he had many lovers while he was traveling.
The historical fact is that he had many illegitimate kids. Yeah. He just wanted a proper heir, quote unquote.
Yeah, so he needed an heir.
One of my notes is, did he really think she wasn't cheating? Just like, of course she was. So there's a big whole scene about she getting caught basically cheating. It makes it to the news.
And everybody knew, yeah.
One of his army people, whatever,
his brother,
lets him know the news. He's all mad about it. He leaves and goes back home because he fake puts her out. And there's this whole thing of like, you're making a fool out of me. Don't you know I love you? And she's like, yes, I love you. Please don't kick me out. And then in the very next scene, there's a power dynamic change, and she's telling him, "Don't you know you know?"
I think it's the same scene. It's just it goes from day to night. Yeah. So I guess we're supposed to assume that they've just been arguing from
all night long,
from night till morning,
and having a discussion about working it out,
the infidelity. Yeah.
So that was just.
I think we're supposed to assume. So let's talk about that scene. So he reads. His brother tells him that Josephine has been sleeping around with some rando, some young rando. So he's like, great, get a boat, let's go home. He goes home. Josephine is not there.
Nope.
She's off with a rando somewhere.
Right. She rushes
so
back home.
She's rushing back home.
As fast as she can.
Her luggage is already outside in the rain. She runs in. She's like, don't leave me. He's like, you shouldn't have cheated on me, blah, blah, blah. He makes her tell him that she's nothing without him and that he's the most important thing in his life. In her life. And then I guess it goes till morning and they're sitting in the same place. And I guess they're supposed to have been arguing all night.
Right. They look exhausted.
And I think we're supposed to assume that in that moment she realized that she could manipulate him too, but they didn't show that very well.
It's literally a cut scene from they go from her begging him to stay to her telling him,
and
you
all
need
of a sudden,
to beg me to stay.
all of a sudden he's the weak one.
Yeah.
But there wasn't a moment where we get to see her be like, oh,
right,
I have the power here.
I have the upper hand. Let me do a little.
She just kind of rolls right into it, and he does too. And that was one of the things I told you earlier was a missed opportunity with the mom, because Napoleon is supposed to be, there's the Napoleon complex and there's all these references to him. Napoleon is supposed to be a guy who's easily manipulated by the women in his life, because
I think that's what they were.
He's supposed to be depicted as a mama's boy.
That's what I got when she finally showed up.
When she finally showed up, we got that he's a mama's boy. And he was very excited she finally showed up, he was very excited to introduce his mom to all these different people. Josephine is an older woman.
Yes,
she was older than he was. So I think with the mom, they missed the opportunity to show the mom controlling him in that same way. So that's why it was so easy for Josephine to do the
exact. She could have seen how he was with his mom and be like, oh, I get it.
Like, he falls for women who are authority figures to him.
Right.
They didn't show that.
She could have had a scene where she saw Napoleon and his mom interacting and had a light bulb moment. There's nothing like that. It literally flips to the next scene where she was begging him and now he's begging her. We
should have seen a scene of his mom bossing him around.
Something.
And then while Josephine looks and sees, and then Josephine going, oh, I can do that. And then her doing it. That would have made that make a lot more sense.
There could have been 2 scenes in between that one scene where it just jumps.
Of him just doing whatever his mom says. And then Josephine realizes, oh, you just like powerful women, right? So I can boss you around too.
That.
Yeah,
right. I can do
and that would have made a lot more sense, and it would have been more believable.
Like that. But I think one thing when you said you were surprised she didn't get her head lopped off, I was surprised her who would he be? Whoever the dude she was cheating
she had
with.
Taken a lover.
Her lover. I was surprised he didn't get his head lopped off. But then I was like, oh, that would have been obvious that he got killed. But like you said, everybody was horrible.
Maybe he died in real life and they just didn't kill him in the movie. Because I thought that was weird. Because he was in the newspaper.
He was at the wedding.
People knew who he was.
Not the wedding, the coronation.
His brother knew him by name. He called him by name. He said, this is who your wife is sleeping with. He lived through the whole movie, and there was never a moment where we saw Napoleon take out revenge again. So maybe there's a scene in the 4-hour cut of Napoleon murdering him or having his head lopped off.
If you guys are interested, there is a 4-hour director's cut of this movie coming to Apple TV, and I will not be watching it.
So maybe that's on the director's cut. His death scene was saved for the 4-hour cut.
I'll never know.
I just think it was ridiculous to not show him being killed.
No retaliation was a shock
because he killed so many people easily.
Working.
You would think he would kill the dude, and he was such a jealous husband. You would think he would absolutely kill her lover, but he didn't. So.
I don't know. So anything we would change about this movie
I don't even know where to start. This movie's so screwy. I don't even know where to be. It's like,
name 2. What are 2 things you could change about this movie? And let me think why I asked you that.
The scene with the mom. I would have done more with the mom.
Okay.
I would have showed more of the power dynamics between Napoleon and women.
Okay.
Because obviously there was something there.
Yes, I agree. I would have chopped down longer.
I just would have removed some scenes.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if I would have had longer battles and less dialogue scenes.
I don't know if I wanted the battle to be longer.
And that's why I'm saying.
Because the battles were fine.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know if I would say that. But there are some scenes that, like any sex scene in the movie was pointless.
They had sex scenes that they showed you. And then they had sex scenes where they just do the cutaway. They could have all been cutaway because we got the gist of the fact that they were trying to have a baby.
Right, and she wasn't enjoying it.
Yeah, and she wasn't enjoying it.
Like, that didn't add anything. There was another scene, and I leaned over and said, what was the point of that?
And she did a very good job at acting dissatisfied. Like, she looked dissatisfied throughout the whole movie.
So I don't get fired was essentially the look on her face in all of those scenes.
And she did a very good job at portraying just a woman who was just like, you know what? Right. I'm here for the food and the beautiful gowns.
Right. And that didn't really add to the movie because obviously as they're going along and they're mentioning the air, we can see that she's not pregnant. So it was just kind of like, and they have a whole argument about Napoleon. She's like, oh, no love making's been happening. He's like, oh, it's been plenty, 15 years. And she's like, no, it hasn't actually. And that summed up everything right there in that one scene. We didn't even see none of his attempting of having a baby. Like, it didn't even work.
No.
I can't think of what scene where I said, what was the point of that?
Was it the scene where he dug up the mummy?
I think that actually happened in history.
What was the point of that scene?
I don't know.
Because there's a scene in the movie where he takes over. He fights Egypt.
Yeah, that happened.
Has them dig up one of their pharaohs, and
that's who it was.
He has them open the sarcophagus, and he kind of looks at it, and it looks like he's gonna touch the body.
He did, remember, and it fell over.
Wait, he reached for it and like maybe tapped it, and then the body fell over, and then he was just like, put it back in the box.
It was a goofy. It was one of those goofy moments because he touched it, it slides over, and everybody just looks around.
Everybody's like, "Are you gonna?"
He just touched.
There's like, "Are you gonna touch that body?"
Right.
And then he just was like, he just motioned to him like, oh, "Okay, just put it back in the coffin."
It's just like I'm saying, it was a lot of those like. He just seems, I don't know, just do whatever.
What was the point of that? Yeah, I didn't get that.
No, it wasn't. I don't know. I'm sure there's a couple other scenes where I was just like, this didn't add anything to this movie. Why is it here?
Expand on the Asians in the forest.
Oh, I didn't even realize that till after the movie. So they're crossing across Asia to get to, I don't even remember where at this point because we've seen like 4 battles and I'm losing track. And they come out of the forest, attack the line of soldiers that are walking
with cannons. They like surprise attack them,
get a couple of them, kill a couple of them, and then once that little skernuffle is over, they just go to the next scene. Yeah,
they like attack them by surprise. So they run into the forest to chase after them. Where
like setup. You said it was a setup.
They find it looks like a trap because they have other bodies, other French soldiers like dead and strapped to trees and stuff. So it's obviously like a trap to lure them.
That's what it seemed
and
like.
Then they flee, but they never touch back on who those people were and why that was set up.
I almost forgot that scene happened because I was like, oh yeah. Oh well,
because I thought it was going to lead to another big war, but it was just a random, like it wasn't even a battle. It was just a random attack that they experienced on their way to war.
So one of my notes are some takes felt too long, some didn't add any context.
Yes, that's true.
So that's my thing I would change. Either take out the scenes that don't have context or add more context so I know what the relation is and why this is important to explain Napoleon's story.
Yeah. As far as gore, there was a lot of it, but it was period accurate.
It was your typical war.
The first piece of gore you see is a horse get its chest blown open by a cannon. Didn't need to see that at all.
Nope. That was definitely.
I'm gonna see that when I close my eyes because that is the most disgusting thing.
That was definitely pure adding for effect.
It wasn't even like
you didn't even need
It wasn't even like it was the visual. The visual was.
It's not pleasant.
Disturbing.
It's not pleasant.
Hearing horses in pain is like some of the worst animal sounds.
Yeah.
So you hear the horse make the sounds of horse being shot in the chest with a cannonball. But then it's all the liquidy sound effects that happen after that.
It's a visual. Like they don't cut away. Just like they don't cut away when Marie Antoinette's head get lopped off. They don't cut away from the cannonball literally destroying the horse's chest.
Blowing it clean open.
Yeah.
And the horse dies
immediately,
and you just hear the sounds of horsey flesh hitting the ground. And didn't need to see that.
Yeah.
Didn't need to see him reach into the horse's cavity to pull out the cannonball to say, "Take it back to our mother."
That didn't happen.
Didn't need those squishy sound effects.
So that whole thing was just totally made up for the movie.
Of course, you get like the war sounds. It's like Braveheart, where you get a lot of.
It's typical. The battles look good, but there's nothing new there.
You get the scene of them shooting the cannonballs into the crowd. The second wave of the revolution.
Yeah,
they're shooting the cannonballs into the crowd, and then you get the woman who was obviously not killed by the cannon, but had her leg blown off, and we get to see her dragging herself through the street and screaming. Didn't need to see that.
There are a lot of finer details where you're like, okay, this was a choice that you did on purpose.
Yeah.
And it didn't really add to the story, but
gross.
Right. Basically.
Things that were also anything else I would have changed? I don't think so. This, like I said, this movie was kind of all over the place, so you don't know where to clean up.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't necessarily think it was 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 38 minutes is not super long for a movie. But it needs to have. It's missing something. I hate to keep comparing it to like Oppenheimer, but Oppenheimer, I didn't feel the 3 hours.
I mean, they're biopics. They're Oppenheimers, Killers of the Flower Moon. There's this.
I didn't feel the 3 hours of Oppenheimer. I felt the 2 hours and 38 minutes of Napoleon, and I can't even pinpoint exactly why. Maybe because it was repetitive, like we said, talk, battle, talk, battle, talk, battle. And maybe that's why, like, I knew after a battle was over and we cut to a dialogue scene, I was like, okay, we about to talk for 20 minutes. Then we're going to get to another battle. How many more battles we got? I almost looked up, like, how did Napoleon die so I know when we about to get to the end? Because it wasn't boring, but I was ready to go at the end, if that makes sense.
I am having trouble trying to figure out where to place this movie's purpose. It's not entertaining.
No.
Because there's not enough there to be entertained
It's
by.
not
If you want to see the battle clips, you can watch those on YouTube.
I'm sure there's Napoleon documentaries front, right, and center.
But there also are better battles in films
battles.
that you can just watch. I think in a old episode when we were talking about what we were looking for in this movie, I think I said I was just looking for the battles. Yeah, I kind of got that. So the battle's fine. Okay. It had good battles. Mm-hmm. It's not entertaining though. It's not educational. It's not.
You definitely gonna have to do your homework. Don't watch this and think you know everything about Napoleon.
No.
No go.
It's not. Don't go try to impress people with your Napoleon facts because they're incorrect. It's not very historical or accurate. So I'm having a hard time figuring out like what this movie is for and if it has like
Apple TV
rewatch value.
Wanted to give Ridley Scott $200 million to make a movie that would attract people to their platform.
That's fine.
That's the purpose of this movie.
Yeah.
Will it work? I don't think so.
And before you argue like, oh, it's not for entertainment, it got a 65% audience score and a B-. Those are bad things.
Excuse me, that's 60%.
Oh, I'm sorry. It has a 60% audience
you
score.
Gave it too much.
60% audience score and a B- cinema score. So it's not just us saying we don't think it's entertaining. The majority of the world doesn't think it's entertaining either.
I would say if at a 60%, I would say most of the people who saw it didn't think it was bad. But I don't even know if we could even factor entertaining. None of the reviews I saw highly entertaining.
Yeah, and the fact that it exceeded expectations is not an indication of the quality of the film because everybody's bought something that they can't return. Yeah, so the fact that it made, if you could get refunds on tickets based on the quality of the film, I think that would change a lot of movies' box office projections. Sure, so let's just be open and honest about the fact that okay, it made some money, but a lot of awful things make money that people regret spending it on.
Right.
So
that leads into our next part of our review. Who would like this movie? Who would we recommend it to? Who would we not recommend?
I think all those questions were already answered by the audience score and the cinema score.
I would recommend it if you.
I would recommend this movie to Ridley Scott.
You think he's gonna put this in his top 5 movies?
Ironically, no. I don't think he would put this in. Even though he put his own 2 entries in the top 5 sci-fi films of all time. Mm-hmm. I don't even think this would make the top 5. I don't even know what this is. Movie? Dramas? It's not historical. It's not a historical drama.
It technically is.
Is it?
I mean, they don't do a percentage of accuracy.
It's a historical drama.
They just let them put them out.
It's a historical drama.
It's for the audience to decide how accurate it is.
Speaking of Ridley Scott movies, it's a historical drama in the same way Exodus, Gods and Kings is a historical drama.
There it is.
The movie where Christian Bale plays an African who leads the rest of the slaves of Egypt out through the parted sea. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's that accurate.
Listen.
It's white Moses leading the rest of the white slaves of Egypt through the Red Sea.
I didn't see that movie, and I'll just stick to the historically inaccurate 10 Commandments. That's entertaining, at least. Come on.
Yeah, and the 10 Commandments is at least entertaining. I know better than
to know it's not historically accurate, right? But it's entertaining at least.
So I don't even know if this is historical drama. It's a drama.
It's a drama for sure.
It's a war drama.
There it is.
It's a new genre.
Multiple war drama.
War genre. So we've invented 2 genres. Classroom cinema.
There it is. Classroom cinema.
And war dramas. So this fits under war dramas.
Boom, boom, boom. Yeah. All right. Do you have a favorite line or scene?
Favorite scene?
I don't, actually.
Is when he went to Russia.
Okay. To talk to the Tsar.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. And found out that they all left. Mm-hmm. And instead of negotiating with him, they burned their own city down. And I thought that was such a boss move. Yeah. Because absolutely.
Okay. I
thought that was good.
My favorite scene is one that I don't think happened. They made up. Is the one where he coordinates to have his soldiers come in from the 3 different sides, and they bombard I don't even know who they're fighting at this point.
Is this in the Arctic? Because I have a fact for you about that.
And they basically use all their cannons to sink all the people into this frozen pond. Apparently the pond did not actually exist. Or the lake didn't exist. And that's not how it supposedly happened, but it looked cool. So
a fact about that was
visually it looked cool.
That would
be my favorite scene.
The lake did exist. However, it wasn't the way the movie plays that.
It's like a big long lake.
Yeah, so the way that movie plays is Napoleon is trying to surprise the Russian, and
I don't remember who.
I think it's the Russian encampment.
Maybe Turks.
That was
Russians.
It was both. It was Turks and Russia, I believe, or
Sure.
I think it was Austria. It was Russian and Austrian.
I think you're right.
They were camped out there in the Arctic.
Yep, I think you're right.
And the way the movie portrays it as he did a sneak attack and he tricked them into running onto the ice so that he could cannonball them and kill them all. But apparently historically that is not, it kind of happened that way, but it wasn't like Napoleon was like a mastermind and he had tricked them into doing it. It was that he had just, in reality, he cut off all of the exits, so they had to run in that direction. There's a scene where they're running and one guy slips and he brushes the snow out of the way and he realizes they're on top of a lake. Yeah. In reality, historically, they knew that lake was there. It wasn't a surprise that they were running on the lake. It was, this is the only way we can go. Okay. So, and also not nearly as many people died that
I read
was depicted in the movie.
They didn't find very many bodies. They found a lot of horses and carriages.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot of, it seemed like he completely wiped them out by driving them into the lake. But apparently he didn't really kill that many people.
Yes, I think I did run
because they knew it was a lake there. Yeah. So a lot of people just stayed and died instead of drowning in the lake.
The scene looks cool. Like I said, it is probably not.
It makes for a good visual. Like the one lone horse and the flag running against all the cannonballs in the lake. It looked great.
Very cool. And it looks like he is a super, that's smart. He is smart, so smart. It plays out real well, but like you said, it's not that historic.
I thought the ending was a little weak.
I was about to say, what are our final thoughts about this movie?
I thought the ending was a little weak, but because there's so much ambiguity around whether he actually died on that island or not, I think that, that's the best he could do. Nobody knows if it's kind of like the Tupac effect. It's like, did he really die on that island or not? Nobody actually knows.
He ain't alive.
Is Napoleon and Tupac somewhere on an island hanging out with each other?
Absolutely not. He's not immortal. We know that much. My final thoughts would be, I went in with the expectation that I would think it was just okay, and I came out with it's just okay. It's not my favorite Ridley Scott movie by far, by 2, 4, 6 long shots.
I think we should do a new fun thing where we write our expectations for upcoming movies in an envelope and seal them, and then open them up. When we do the review and reread them and see if we actually got what we thought we were looking for.
That'll be our last segment going forward. We'll have to come up with a catchy name for it.
Because I went into the movie thinking I was going to be extremely bored. Oh. And I was only a little bit bored.
Okay.
I was entertained by a lot more than I expected to be.
Okay. I will say that knowing the critic score, and I don't put much weight in the critic score, but knowing the critic score, I was like, okay, just because critics don't like it doesn't mean I won't like it, but it kind of gave me some context of like, oh, I can see why critics don't like this and that and the third while I'm watching the movie. But I will say that knowing the cinema score going in, I was like, oh, this is kind of low.
I think,
and it kind of gave me a, I wonder if I'm going to agree or disagree.
We play devil's advocate a lot with Rotten Tomatoes because we see the score and we're like, okay, we can see this, but we can also see this. Yeah. This one, I have no objections. Yeah. I have no objections about the scores for this film.
I would have gave it a B- if cinema score a person asked me. And out of 5 stars, I would have given it a 2.8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have no objections about how everybody else has received this.
So worth the theater, just a movie, or wait for streaming?
It's definitely a theater production. It's a theater film.
If you like movies, I would check it out. If you like big theatrical movies, you'll be fine.
Is it worth going? Is it a theater movie? Yes. Is it worth going to the theater to see?
No. Wait till it gets on Apple.
So on Apple, will you get a choice between the 4 and the 2.5 hour cut?
I don't know.
Can you only watch the 2.5 hour cut? If it goes to Apple and you have the option between the two,
you better stick to the
just stick to the 2 hour and 45 minute cut. Because the other additional hour and a half is just going to be an hour and a half of nonsense.
If he could have made if you're going to tell me that a 4-hour cut of this movie makes this movie 10 times better, then you don't know how to edit.
You can't. There were so many unimportant things that happened in this movie. You can't tell me the important
all
stuff.
All the important parts
is in the was saved for Apple. That doesn't make any sense.
No way. So that is our Napoleon review. You can see how we liked or didn't like.
Spent enough time grilling this film.
Right. We're going to see the next Ridley Scott movie. It's Gladiator 2.
Come on.
It's Denzel Washington.
He'll always have.
It's one of my favorite movies. So
Ridley Scott will always have
a place.
Gladiator. He will always have Alien.
American Gangster.
He will always have his hits.
Yeah.
You could never take that away from him.
You cannot.
So,
and we are not.
No.
We just gonna act like we saw this
You gotta
movie,
call it dud.
And we gonna keep it moving. We're gonna keep it moving. All right. Anything we're watching during the week?
So I'm going, now that Invincible has wrapped the first half of season 2, I'm going to start it because I wanted to binge it.
I'm going to finish it. I only got past episode 1 and then I was like, I'll just wait because there's only 3 more episodes to go.
I wanted to binge Invincible. I did not want to watch it week to week.
Okay.
So now that it's out, I'm going to binge it and make that a good day. And I am also going to catch up on Monarch, Legacy of Monsters, because that is turning out to be a really good show.
It is. I am also watching that. I only have 1 episode to go, so I'm going to watch that tonight.
Yeah, the MonsterVerse movies have this thing of, especially the Godzilla part of the MonsterVerse movies, have this thing of not showing Godzilla as much.
They've been doing pretty good so far.
But they've been doing really good at showing like the monsters. It's not just Godzilla, but just monsters in general. In this freaky world that they live in.
Also Apple TV, and you can tell that they have the budget.
Apple TV got the money.
I mean, all y'all got iPhones, so
yeah.
I have a Mac. I'm an Android girl, but I got a Mac.
Yeah.
Stay off me. I'm just playing. All right. In our next episode, we will be reviewing David Fincher's The Killer.
Yes, on
Netflix. And then we will also going to be seeing Beyonce.
Yes, we're going to see the Renaissance movie.
So we're going to talk about both of those in one episode, if you can imagine.
Yes.
So stay tuned.
All right.
Thanks for listening. You can follow us on your favorite podcast app, and you can also email us at vaguelynerdypodcast@gmail.com.
All right. And we'll see you guys later.
Bye.